Okay, so Seagate fairly recently announced next generation Mosaic 4 Plus platform. Why or what is it that makes the release a significant milestone for the storage industry, at the current time?
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, I think this is a really important milestone for the fact that it reinforces our commitment to technology and innovation. It shows how Seagate is rapidly delivering capacity growth based on this Mosaic technology. It also shows how the leading hyperscale customers are moving quickly to adopt and get on these new technology platforms as soon as they're available, which is creating more and more value for them as data becomes more and more important and valuable in their data center. And it just reinforces the long-term belief that we've had for quite some time as a company here at Seagate that data is valuable and we need to continue to build hard drives based on Mosaic technology to store all of that valuable information.
And in terms of the capacities, I think you are at the moment is it 44 terabytes, but you've got a roadmap toward 100 terabyte devices. It'd be good to understand how you see that reshaping data center design and scalability, if indeed it does. What sort of impact do you think that will have on the data center over time?
Good question. Yeah, this is a continuation of our commitment to growing the platform. We announced Mosaic technology at 3 terabytes per disk, delivering capacities up to 30. We're now announcing successful qualifications on Mosaic 4 terabytes per disk, which have capacities up to 44, as you said. The technology itself has created a new S-curve of innovation, and we see a sizable and healthy roadmap all the way out to 100 terabytes and beyond. Our engineering teams and our research teams continue to look at that design space and figure out what we need to optimize and continue to showcase to our customers to get to that 100 terabyte per drive milestone and achievement. But the runway won't stop there. We'll continue to innovate and grow. The key piece of why we push on that mechanism is data is growing super, super rapidly. And it's important for us to continue to drive efficiency so that these customers can pack more and more data into our hard drive and make sure that they don't have, data center sprawl and rack sprawl for all the new information that they're generating.
And heat-assisted magnetic recording, it's long been anticipated. Were there any particular key challenges in terms of bringing it to production scale? And if I suspect that was the case, are you able to share how Seagate overcame them, how you addressed those?
With any new technology, there's always learning that happens. I wouldn't say that there was anything that was, drastic or remarkable. It was really just a commitment to a multifaceted engineering development activity. We have incredible engineers focused on material science and firmware and production capabilities and mechanical design and electrical design. And we put all those brains together and kept working, night and day to come up with this technology. In terms of us getting it ready, I'd say the biggest effort that we put forth was making sure it was production scale capable and reliable for our customers to use. As you can see now from how fast the customers are adopting the Mosaic 4 platform and using the technology, we've put all of those question marks in the past. The production data and the deployment into data centers is meeting reliability targets that our customers depend on from our hard drives, and our ability to produce it at scale, i.e., have the manufacturing efficiency and the manufacturing throughput to be able to build the technology itself, is doing really well and on track for all the milestones we've set forth for the team.
Okay, and in terms, I think you referenced earlier, but I know the announcement focus or points out that the hyperscale cloud providers are very much adopting the technology. So is there anything particular that you haven't already covered, shall we say, at least that that they're demanding today that makes solutions like them, Mosaic 4 so critical for them?
For hyperscalers, it's pretty straightforward. We're driving areal density growth to drive efficiencies for them on watt per terabyte, max drive capacity. and overall just keeping up with the exabyte demand that they're driving. What's really exciting about the Mozaic 4 platform, though, is it helps us actually democratize storage for all routes to market, inclusive of markets like VIA and NAS and traditional enterprise use cases. Those markets are still quite large and growing. And with the Mozaic 4 technology, we now have the ability to use that inside of our drives that maybe aren't at the max capacity. So not everyone is a hyperscaler. Not everyone deploys, 40 or 44 terabyte disk drives. There are a lot of use cases that deploy 16 terabyte disk drives or 20 terabyte disk drives or 24 terabyte disk drives. With Mozaic 4, we're now able to deliver those capacities with fewer components, which allows us to scale our manufacturing efficiency, and it allows us to meet the needs of those customers better for their use cases and their application sensitivities.
And we can't have a conversation about IT these days without mentioning those two letters AI, which is driving, I won't say the whole industry, but it's clearly having a massive impact. So, was there a thinking that your platform would, specifically hit a sweet spot for the needs of the AI workloads? And would, I guess at the moment everyone's talking about the training, the large language models, and then we've got the inferencing over time, and there's long-term data retention in there as well. So just I guess how much were you thinking about AI when bring this product, or is it just a sort of calm or whatever you want to call it that you produced it and everyone wants more and more data because of AI? Yeah, if you can unpick that one, please.
Sure thing. Yeah, we work very closely with our customers to understand their workloads and their pain points. We've seen the development of this technology for AI happening over the last few years. The infrastructure obviously has to get ready before the applications deploy and customers, consumers, businesses interact with it. So Seagate's been working closely with all of our partners in multiple routes to market to understand why this is going to drive data growth, why this is going to drive the value of data. That's why our priority has been to focus on this Mozaic technology, bring that value of larger hard drives to the industry so that all that information can be stored. We know very clearly that training workloads are massive supercomputers running. There is a ton of checkpointing data and there's a ton of base training data that these supercomputers want to retain, want to have multiple copies of. And the beauty of that is those models are now not just text-based, they're multimodal. They have photos and they have videos in it. So those training sets are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, where hard drives have the economies that allow that infrastructure to scale really efficiently and really well. So we're excited about that. In addition to this, I think we're seeing now as people move to deployment of those large language models and deployment of other AI models, that inference is now executing and delivering on this value of data because people are interacting with it, they're making better decisions, they're creating deeper engagement and creating new content. All of those inference use cases is filling the data centers with new information that has to be retrained and relearned and restudied and reoptimized. So this infinite cycle of data analysis, data deployment, decision making and engagement, and then new data creation really keeps happening over time, and we see that keep happening over time, and that's why we're so excited to participate in this AI era and what it means for the future of data growth.
Okay, and one other aspect of today's IT industry is I think it's fair to say an increased focus on sustainability. And I know you are keen to point out that there's some energy efficiency improvements and the overall, I think, footprint. So just from a Seagate perspective, how important is sustainability and overall total cost of ownership in today's, you've mentioned it several times, with the data infrastructure becoming so massive and so crucial, just how important sustainability and footprint.
It's the foundational layer, Philip. It's what we take very seriously. We only get one planet. Everything we do has that built in, whether it's the manufacturing facilities that we own and operate and our focus on the renewable energy sources that drive those factories and how we operate them, whether or not it's on the recycled content that we use in our products today. All of our products are inclusive of recycled materials to help with the circular economy. We've created new programs through our e-commerce platforms to help encourage the recycling of material and minimize waste of any product and ensure that the full life cycle of all materials used within our designs continue to have that longevity. And then we always look at what materials are within a hard drive and how can we best optimize those, minimize materials that are needed, and make sure that we're using sources that are clearly sustainable and practical for the earth. And last but not least, I'd say as a whole, this is where our scale is so important. The device itself is the lowest embodied carbon storage device in the industry. When we look at alternative technologies and deploying at exabyte scale, there is no other device that can do what a hard drive does, which is awesome. It's something we're really proud of. It's something our customers value. It's why hard drives are such an integral part to that TCO equation and that infrastructure build out of data centers moving forward.
And just following up on that, do you think that most, if not all, of your customers are now comfortable with the idea of storage tiers and where the data should reside, both obviously from a performance point of view, but also, from a sustainability, so they're not, keeping data on, expensive storage and energy intensive storage when they could move it down the stack, if you like. So just your thoughts as to how well versed your customer base is in the right storage for the right data.
That's a great question. It's something that we talk to our customers about routinely. Right or wrong, when an overall ecosystem starts to appreciate and understand and realize that all components within that ecosystem are scarce, you create an environment in which everyone drives efficiency ruthlessly, which is great to see. It means that we are doing things together with our customers to make sure software is tightly coupled to the hardware design and that data is available and retained at the right locations. And the complexity of data tiering that has lowered over time because the software capability and the skills within the software stack are so amazing. They're able to take large data sets and move them to the places that are needed for analysis, and then optimize their cost and their ability to retain and serve that information with hard drives leading to that scale and economic benefit. But then balancing that with additional scarce components like flash devices or DRAM devices or high bandwidth memory devices to get the data to the compute at the time it's needed and at the right speed. So really continuing to see a focus on that symbiotic relationship of those components and having each one of them really do their part and make sure that the architecture is super optimal.
Thanks for that. One other aspect just be worth exploring. I think vertical integration, and I think particularly its photonics and laser technology is a key part of the innovation. So perhaps a little bit about the advantage it gives Seagate, and is it something that your competitors don't have, or what does it give you that the competition doesn't have, if you like?
Our history at Seagate is always to focus on technology and invent and own the technologies that are most important to our hard drive products. That's our core tenet. With the development and announcements of our internal laser technology, it's really about a scale statement. We have great partnerships on our external laser technology, but we realize that, the Mozaic technology is going to grow. It's going to be very important to multiple routes to market, and we need to continue to create additional supply optionality and supply within that ecosystem. And so therefore, working with our external partners and developing our own technology is super important to allow us that flexibility, and then to continue to innovate and look at what things can happen within a given technology node. We do this for our recording heads. We do this for our recording media. We now do this with our additional components like lasers that help us with that recording physics uh, combination of all those components.
And maybe just finally, and I suspect you might have partly answered it in my not the last one, but the one before question, but data volumes continuing to surge. So just your thoughts as to the role that high capacity hard drives are going to play alongside the other storage. You obviously mentioned them all, and they all have a role, but just where you see high capacity hard drives fitting. Are they going to encroach on other technologies a bit more, or just what do you see into the future?
We've tried to be very consistent about this one. We view cloud infrastructure and data center architecture really as a optimal blend of all of the key technologies. It's a mix of high bandwidth memory, DRAM, solid state flash devices, and hard drives together, creating a solution. The growth rate for all of those devices is really exciting right now because the AI era is saying we need more of everything. We are trying to analyze and create so much more intelligence with this architecture than we ever have before. It really gives a unique opportunity for innovation across all of those device types, value across all of those device types. And we see clear signals from all of our customers that the demand is growing, the visibility to that demand is lengthening. We can see longer out in time in terms of what they need, and we're able to now plan for that demand with longer runways and make sure that we're predictable and able to give them what they need to continue to build out their infrastructure, which is super exciting. It's something that we didn't have in the past with some of the other use cases that had been in front of us. This AI use case and this cloud-based ecosystem has really created an infrastructure model that allows all hardware components to better plan, have better visibility, and really deliver on their key tenets of innovation.
And maybe just a final thing. I mean, I've been in the storage industry quite a long time, and familiar with Seagate's strong history. And I've always been intrigued that you seem to resist the temptation, which I imagine there must be an element to own more of the storage sort of real estate and go into other storage technologies. Is that something that would ever be on the roadmap, or because you've got the sweet spot and the track record and it keeps you busy enough that you're happy to ignore the attractions of SSDs and high bandwidth memory, if you like?
Yeah, we really like to stay focused on what we're really good at. We've got a track record and a history as a company just to continue to innovate and provide value for our customers. We bring parts to the market, not charts. We say what we're going to do, and we do what we say. And I think there's something to be really appreciated about knowing what you're good at. We have such a diverse set of skills within Seagate, and there's so many intricacies that go into a hard drive. It's really a modern marvel when you think about it. The electrical components, the mechanical components, the assembly technology, the robotics that put it all together, the industrial engineering to plan, fabs to development of product and delivery to our customers through logistics and supply chain. There's such a large swath of technology integration and technology development that it really keeps us, energized and really excited about the future of what we can continue to do there. I think it's got our cup as full as we can take right now, and we're excited to continue to work on those challenges that are in front of us to meet that growing exabyte demand.
That's fantastic. It's been lovely to chat, Jason, and thank you so much for sharing great insights on Mosaic itself, and then some thoughts a bit more generally about what's going on in the storage space. So really appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.